I think those kind of models, doing the medical interview in a particular order, those things are important for helping students who don't know how to do a medical consultation, and being able to learn that, and that order is important. But I think also learning why that order is the way it is. Why is it that you need, where do you need to get to, and what are the bits before that you need that help you get to it? And when you understand that rationale, or explain that rationale, that can help students. I think it is that development of a learner from doing something in a very specific way to, like that second clip that I talked about, where it becomes doing things in more responsive ways and being able to be flexible. So I think it is having both parts within it. I think the challenge there really is in assessment, around then how do we assess for that complexity. I think it depends what we mean by objective, because we're all going to have a perspective that is observational of a thing that happened, and we're going to have some kind of subjective insights into that. So I think they're both objective and subjective, and I think both have valuable places in education. So yes, so I've got a collection of several hundred consultations between different kinds of healthcare providers and patients. It can be, raising things outside of where they might be expected, then might not be heard. So like patients raising ideas or concerns about why something, the ICE, ideas, concerns, expectations, in particular parts of the consultation might not be hearable as raising an idea or a concern. It might just be, in one example, in a paper we've recently published, the patient's idea about the cause of the illness was actually completely ignored. It's followed by 20 seconds of silence and then something else. So, yeah, I suppose that's where I've seen that kind of over-reliance on that. I think it would be interesting to look at the development over time and of a student into a doctor, and seeing that process, because I also record a lot of people who are quite experienced. And the other thing I wanted to add to that was around when we educate, what I have found useful is exposing students to both the model, but also then showing them how it works and what happens in practice, and getting them to appreciate that the model doesn't look like the model in real life. I have used a variety of approaches, and I find that helpful. So shout out to the people who do improv in the room. So I found improv really useful because it gets students feeling more comfortable with uncertainty in that. So I think that's a really important tool. I think simulation is an important tool. I think engaging with real world conversations, and then also engaging with observing directly. So not just looking at kind of the fine-grained analyses, but also observing other clinicians and then observing themselves. I think it's then thinking about how engaging with complexity might help with that. So rather than having to remember how you should do something, learning how to analyse or reflect within practice, and then directly after to help with development. So things like, why might this have happened this way? So equipping people with tools. I'm not saying everyone needs to become a conversation analyst. You're most welcome, but you don't have to. But equipping students with tools to understand why a conversation is going a certain way may be helpful there. So maybe taking the expectation out of performance in a particular way, and helping students trust their own abilities to communicate. Most students have to do interviews to get into medical school. They've communicated their whole lives. and then equipping them with tools of analysis.